Ko te tuatahi kei te mihi ata kia tātou e hui mai nei kei raro te maru o tō tātou nei treaty. Ko te karanga o te treaty e tū mai ana te Māori me te Pākehā ki te aha, i te whai whakaro mō tātou i noho ana i tēnei whenua rangatira, i runga i te whakaro te tika me te puni. Ko te tuarua ka hoki aku mahara ki ngā rōpū katoa i tū ana ki te atamira kei te matatini, i ki ana te kāwai matatini, kei te tino mihi ki o koutou i tū ana i runga i te whakaro o te mana Māori mo tu hake me te tino rangatiratanga. Ana ka hoki au i tēnei komiti whaiti kei te mihi atu au ki o koutou. I've provided a significant submission, mainly because I was one of the lawyers that led the challenges to the Waitangi Tribunal, both about the coalition arrangements that sought to dismantle and savagely undermine the treaty itself. But I also come mandated for my peoples of Ngāti Pikiao, who once the ink was dried on the coalition arrangements between the National Party and the New Zealand First Party and the National Party and the ACT Party, immediately organised to reject any efforts by this present kawanatanga to undermine, rewrite, dismantle the aspects of Te Treaty which are sacred to us. As a matter of history, Te Arawa did not sign Te Treaty, but it's the one sacred document that stands in our House of Parliament, Tamata Kapua. It reminds us of the forging of relationships between those settlers that arrived here post-1840, but also, as Dr. Anne Salmon reminded, the multilateralism of the treaty itself, bringing together peoples of Aotearoa who in former times, in the pre-existing times of the treaty, had actually engaged with warfare with each other. So it is a peace document with two dimensions: the way to create an opportunity for laws and peaceful coexistence between and amongst hapu and iwi themselves, but more fundamentally to then engage with the arriving settlers and the kawanatanga that was established for them by the British sovereign. I want to endorse the statements that I heard this morning from Dr. Salmond, but I also heard them articulated earlier this month in submissions to yourselves by, I think, one of the most distinguished intellectual minds of the last century, and there have been many that you've been fortunate to listen to. Marilyn Waring was somebody that hit me with her submission. Two Prime Ministers, Dame Jenny Shipley and Sir Geoffrey Palmer, were actually those that encapsulated the essence of unity that the treaty provided, but also to remind that the pillars of the rule of law are built on the constitutional apparatus, which only gains legitimacy if we accept He Whakaputanga and Te Treaty as part of the fabric of the creation of the modern Aotearoa New Zealand state. Recently, I listened to a rap artist. His sentiments reminded me immediately that the coalition agreements and those that support it, the people that it supported, are people that are not like those esteemed people that I've just talked about, that he called out to the American populations to reject people that are not like us. And I'm urging this select committee to reject those individuals that stand behind this minority party, the ACT Party, to promote an ideology of supremacy over the ideology of kindness, of mindfulness, of mutual respect, of dignity, which is entrenched in Te Treaty itself. It's really disturbing that this isn't the first time either that this kawanatanga apparatus has tried to dismantle the treaty. I remember in 2007 a similar effort by Rodney Hyde that was actually supported by the Labour Party at that time. So while there is a lot of people saying that the National Party and the other two minor parties that they have coalesced with to form power is at fault, what is, I think, highlighted by the fact that this isn't the only time that you've tried to dismantle the constitutional foundation stone of our country, that in fact the arrogance of that permeates on the wrongful belief that this Parliament in some way subsumes, undermines and has the right to create privileges or to deny privileges for the populations of the Māori world. That must be rejected by this committee, because to do otherwise would actually to not recognise the soul of the nation that we are founded upon. I also highlighted in my submission that we must, as the Court of Appeal and other superior courts have said, look to the treaty text itself and not the principles of the treaty, because the treaty text itself is based on values, kare e roto, which I think are really fundamental. The English language text of the Treaty of Waitangi does not in any way give force to some of the sentiments that are more nuanced in the Māori text. You heard from Professor Ahorangi Ani Makaire on those matters. I don't wish to traverse them, but I would draw the Select Committee's attention to her very well considered deconstruction of how the English text and the principles that are derived from the English text are actually undermining the fundamentals of the treaty itself. The Crown has long tried to fudge the fact that without Te Treaty o Waitangi, there's no legitimisation of this institution. Unless, of course, you're going to suggest that because you declared war on my peoples of Ngāti Mākeno, where we lost 443,000 acres of land, together with the peoples of Ngāti Awa, Tūhoe and Te Whakatohea, is a legitimate way to build a new nation. As a daughter of Ngāti Mākeno, one of the few women who actually is the eponymous ancestor for my hapu, I would reject absolutely if there is a suggestion that the assumption of power that is now being called for from this Parliament comes from those early beginnings. My Pākehā father married my mother with love. Those of us that have engaged as treaty activists for the interest of the treaty itself to be protected do so from not a place of hatred, but a place of kindness, a place of coexistence, a place of recognising that the spiritual soul of the future of our nation was embedded in that document and provides now the kind of metaphors of excellence, the metaphors of unity that this bill actually undermines. It's not surprising then that you had 100,000 people walk and march in unity against what has been proposed. For me in Te Arawa, it was the first time we'd seen 10,000 people, Māori, Pākehā, Pacifica, Asia, out on the streets, walking in unity to provide a clear stand to actually highlight the damning efforts that have been made to actually erase the treaty from the soul of our nation. The last matters that I want to talk about is, I think, really important to, and I put this in my submission, and I'm asking recommendations of you. While we're considering the treaty bill, you cannot disconnect that from the treaty review process of all pieces of legislation that include treaty references. That is as equally a mechanism of undermining rangatiratanga, of undermining treaty rights, as this effort is. Both must be rejected, and I really ask you, I implore you, to stop tinkering with the constitutional foundation stones. It's unheard of for me. The Magna Carta is deeply embedded in my legal soul, just like the treaty. I would never ever see anybody try and rewrite the Magna Carta. And the arrogance of anybody to suggest that they have the power, the ability to do so in this modern time without discussion and the pre-consent of the other party is absolutely deplorable. I speak to you from my heart for this. I haven't come here as a lawyer today. I come here as a treaty activist who spent 40 years fighting for these rights. And I ask you very carefully to consider what you are doing to the soul of the nation by even contemplating the introduction of such racist measures to us at this time. I'd like to end there and take any questions.
Thank you, Annette. We've probably got time for one question. I'll take it from Todd Stevens.
Thanks, Annette. Thanks for coming and making the time. You mentioned that Parliament can't deny the privileges of the Maori world in your address. What do you see as those privileges?
For me, it's the privilege and obligation to look after the taiao, the ecosystems that are ours. Māori have pre-existing rights that exist beyond Te Tiriti o Waitangi. It's a privilege for me to have that obligation. My ancestors are born from Ranginui, who's one of our gods. They come through a whakapapa line. That is a privilege to be given to me in this generation to protect the environment for future generations.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks, Annette. That's all the time we've got. So I just want to acknowledge you both.
And unfortunately, that's all essentially the time we have for this hour, but stuff it. I'm going to give commentary because she is like, she just cited her whakapapa. And I think it's important to highlight the fact that she is essentially akin to like a rangatira based on her whakapapa. So she is one of those Māori leaders that, again, David Seymour did not bother to consult. And Te Arawa did not sign Te Tiriti. She made that very clear. Still, you've got to make the commitments to, if you ask everyone to have a referendum on something, you still got to reach out to the iwi that did not sign Te Tiriti and to the hapu that did not sign Te Tiriti. So very important. I like the fact that she highlighted that it's a peace document with 2 dimensions. Yep. So basically, Māori rangatira agreeing to grant the crown kawanatanga in exchange for preserving their tino rangatiratanga. Very important. And very important fact that she brought up too was how the Labour Party handled all of this with Ngai Tahu under Helen Clark. That was not productive. The comments that Helen Clark made on TV about home bashers or whatever, you know, Māori kicking up a stink, that was not helpful to this discussion, and that has lingered on for decades now. And in a sense, it kind of emboldened people that support Don Brash's opinion. So yeah, that's, you know, thanks, Auntie Helen, for that. Not welcome to this discussion, those comments you made. I also like the fact that this individual brought up the Magna Carta, really important, because basically it says that no one is above the law. Now, you want to ask her, hey, are you above the law? If she broke the law, she's going to court too, right? She's not above the law. I'm not above the law. No Māori is above the law. So yeah, that's pretty much my commentary on that. Nick, any opinions?
Yeah, it was really great to see Annette Sykes. I'm just losing my voice here, but Annette Sykes is a real legend. Too much talking.
Go drink more water.
I know. I need to go and grab some water. Yeah. What to say, really? I can't really add much more than that, I think. No, I'm going to have to leave it at that.
Yeah. One more thing I forgot to mention. I really like the fact that she pretty much stated that it was rangatira that gave legitimacy to the government that we have here today in New Zealand. Really important. By signing that document, yes, that's what gave legitimacy for essentially the Crown, or the British at the time, to set up shop in New Zealand. Very important piece of history that people keep forgetting. All right, so we're probably going to call it there for this hour. We're going to come back, stick around. We've got another hour to go, at least with my face, and then you get to have Sam for another 2 hours or so, and then I come back for later for tonight with Camilla Balich and friends, and Ibrahim Omar. Whoa, my mouth is moving faster than my brain. So, right, we'll be right back.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram.